In a dusty old shop in a town called Havenwood, nestled somewhere quiet in the United States, there was a mask. It wasn't like the other things in the shop, which were mostly old dishes and forgotten toys. This mask was different. It was made of dark wood, smooth and shiny, and it had eyes that looked like black stones. The mouth was curved in a thin, mean smile. The owner of the shop, an old man named Mr. Abernathy, didn't like to talk about the mask. If anyone looked at it for too long, his face would get tight, and he'd say, "That one's not for sale, sonny." A young woman named Sarah loved old, interesting things. She visited Mr. Abernathy's shop often, and every time her eyes went to the mask. There was something about it that made her feel uneasy, but she couldn't look away. One rainy afternoon, Sarah was in the shop. The rain tapped softly on the roof, making the inside feel even darker. Mr. Abernathy looked sad that day. Sarah felt brave enough to ask him about the mask again. "Mr. Abernathy," she said quietly, "what's so special about that mask? Why can't anyone buy it?" The old man sighed, a long, shaky breath. He looked at Sarah, his eyes filled with a deep sadness. "That ain't just a thing, child," he whispered. "It's like a cage." He told her a story. A scary story that his family had told for years. Long ago, someone very bad had lived in the woods near Havenwood. When they died, their angry spirit got trapped inside a tree. Someone made the mask from that tree, and now the bad spirit lived in the mask. "It eats sadness and fear," Mr. Abernathy said, his voice shaking a little. "Whoever wears it lets that bad thing inside them. It whispers good things at first, makes you want things you never wanted before, but in the end, it just breaks you." He told Sarah about people who had worn the mask long ago. Their lives had all ended badly, with scary things happening that no one could explain. They had bad dreams, heard voices, and felt like something cold was always watching them. Even though the story was creepy, Sarah couldn't stop thinking about the mask. A part of her, the part that loved mysteries, really wanted to see it up close. She told herself that old stories weren't always true. One night, after Mr. Abernathy had closed the shop, Sarah went back. The moon was shining through the trees, making long, spooky shadows. She found a window that wasn't locked and slipped inside. The air smelled old and dusty, and Sarah's heart beat fast in the quiet. She found her way to the dark corner where the mask hung. In the dim light, the black stone eyes seemed to shine a little, and the mean smile looked even worse. Sarah felt like something was pulling her closer. She reached out and took the mask from the hook. It was light, and the wood felt cold in her hand. As her fingers touched the carved face, she heard a soft whisper in her mind, a voice that sounded both sweet and scary, promising her things she'd always wanted. Even though Mr. Abernathy had warned her, Sarah slowly put the mask on her face. As soon as it touched her skin, a cold feeling went all through her. The whispers got louder, going around and around in her head, talking about her secret wishes and her worries. The shop seemed to disappear, and Sarah felt like she was spinning in the dark. When she could see again, she was in her own living room, the mask still on her face. She felt amazing, like she could do anything. Her mind was sharp, and she felt sure of herself in a way she never had before. The whispers kept talking, telling her what to think and what to do. In the next few days, Sarah changed. She was smarter and quicker, but she also got angry easily and didn't care about how other people felt. She had bad dreams every night, full of dark shapes and the whispering voices. She stopped talking to her friends and family. The mask felt like it was stuck to her, like it was part of her now. One evening, Sarah looked in the mirror and didn't see her own eyes. Instead, she saw the cold, black eyes of the mask. A mean smile looked like her own smile now. She felt a rush of fear. Mr. Abernathy's words were true. The bad thing was inside her. She tried to take the mask off, but it wouldn't move. Her fingers pulled at the smooth wood, but it was stuck tight. She felt panicky as the whispers got louder, the sweet promises now sounding mean and threatening. Sarah ran back to the old shop, hoping Mr. Abernathy could help her. But the shop was dark. A note on the door said, "Gone. It's too late." A cold feeling filled Sarah. She was alone, trapped with the bad thing that was taking over her. The whispers told her to give in, to enjoy the power. She felt herself getting weaker, her own thoughts fading away. One night, Sarah stood in front of her mirror, feeling like she wasn't in control of her own body. In her hand was a sharp knife from the kitchen. The whispers were loud now, saying it would make things better. It would give her power. The last thing Sarah saw in the mirror was the mean, happy smile of the mask, and the cold, empty eyes that used to be hers. Then, everything went quiet, except for the soft tick-tock of a clock on the wall. The mask had found a new home, and the scary thing inside was waiting for someone else in Heavenwood to find its dark, tempting power. The old shop in the quiet town of Willow Creek always felt a little spooky, but interesting to me. It wasn't just the old, dusty things, but the feeling that each thing had a story. One hot afternoon, behind a big, tall clock, I saw a mask. It was different from all the other things. It was made of dark wood, smooth and shiny, and it looked a little scary, but also pretty in a strange way. It had sharp edges and high cheekbones, but the eyes were the thing that really got me. They were just empty holes, like looking into the dark. The mouth was a thin line that looked like a small, mean smile. The lady who owned the shop, Mrs. Gable, was very quiet. She didn't say much about anything, unless you asked. When I picked up the mask, it felt cool and smooth, which felt nice in my hand. She just watched me, with a face that didn't show any feelings. "This is interesting, isn't it?" I said, turning it around. It didn't weigh much, Mrs. Gable looked right at it. "It has a past," she said softly, like she was talking to herself. I wanted to know more. "Do you know where it came from?" I asked. She waited a bit, and her eyes went to the mask like it knew something she didn't want to say. "It came to me a long time ago, from someone's stuff after they died. The family didn't want it." "Why not?" I asked. I could tell there was a story there. Her hand shook a little as she reached out, almost touched the mask, and then pulled back. "Some things are better left alone," she said quietly. Even though she seemed worried, I really liked the mask. It felt like a secret, something hidden. I'm a writer, and I always look for good stories, so I felt like this mask had one. For the next few weeks, I kept thinking about the mask. Every time I went to the shop, I would just stand and look at its dark, wooden face. Mrs. Gable didn't want to talk about it. She seemed even more worried when I looked at it. One rainy night, the rain hit the windows of the shop hard. I decided to ask Mrs. Gable if I could buy the mask. "Mrs. Gable," I said, my voice sounding loud in the quiet, "I would like to buy the mask." She said no right away, and her voice was sharp. She didn't usually sound like that. "I told you, it's not for sale." "But why not?" I asked. I really didn't understand why she didn't want to sell it. She looked at me, and her eyes were full of a deep, scary fear. It's not safe. That mask, it has something bad in it. I can feel it." Then she told me a little story, just bits and pieces she had heard over the years. It was about an artist who used to live in the woods near Willow Creek a long time ago. People said he was obsessed with feelings, especially sad and angry ones. They said he made this mask last, and it had all those bad feelings inside it because something really sad had happened to him. They say whoever wears it can feel those bad feelings really strongly. Mrs. Gable whispered, her voice shaking. "It can change you, make you someone else." Her words were supposed to scare me, but they made me even more interested. The writer in me thought it was a great story about how things can change people. I tried to ignore the little voice in my head that felt uneasy, and I decided I had to have that mask. A few days later, I went back to the shop. Mrs. Gable wasn't there. A note on the door said, "Closed for today." I saw my chance. I knew Mrs. Gable kept a spare key under a loose brick by the back door. I knew it wasn't right, but I really wanted that mask and the story it might hold. I went inside the quiet, dusty shop. The air felt heavy, and the shadows looked darker than before. The moon was shining a little through the dirty windows, and I found my way to the dark corner. The mask was hanging there, still and quiet, and its dark eyes seemed to watch me. My heart beat fast as I took it down. It felt strangely familiar in my hands, and the cool wood almost felt nice. I tried to forget Mrs. Gable's warnings, the bad feeling in my gut, and I put the mask on my face. As soon as it touched my skin, I felt a cold feeling all over, and then a strange rush of something. It wasn't a voice I heard, but a feeling, a deep sadness that went right into me. The shop seemed to blur, and for a second, I felt so sad that it hurt. When that feeling went away, I was back in my own room, and the mask was on my desk. The strong sadness was gone, but I felt a little different. The world seemed less bright. The colors not as strong. A quiet sadness stayed with me. In the next few days, I started writing darker stories. My words had a sad beauty to them, but I didn't feel happy anymore. I didn't want to see my friends or family. I just wanted to be alone with my thoughts, which were getting more and more sad. One night, I looked in the mirror and saw that my eyes had changed. They looked deeper and darker, and the light in them seemed to have gone out a little. The corners of my mouth turned down a little, like the mask's smile. I started to get scared. Mrs. Gable's words came back to me. I had thought it was just an old story, but now I wasn't so sure. I tried to get rid of the mask, to lock it away, but I felt like I couldn't be without it. I wanted to hold it, to feel its cool, smooth surface. One night, I picked up the mask and looked into its empty eyes. A thought came into my head, clear and cold, a dark and sad story that needed to be written. And as I started to write, the words came easily, full of a sadness and darkness that felt strange but also familiar. The mask sat next to me, like it was helping me, or maybe something worse. I didn't feel completely like myself anymore. The artist's sadness, stuck inside the wood, was slowly becoming my own, and as I wrote, I felt like the story I was writing wasn't just on the paper, but was also happening to me. The mask had found its storyteller, and I was afraid the story it was telling was one I could never escape. This summer I turned 16. My friends and I spent almost every day at Lake Serene. It wasn't a big lake, more like a wide pond surrounded by old, drooping willow trees. One afternoon, while diving near the old half-sunken dock, my hand brushed against something smooth and hard buried in the muddy bottom. I pulled it free, and my heart skipped a beat. It was a mask. This wasn't a swimming mask or a toy. This was different. It was made of a pale white wood, almost bone-colored, and the features were strangely delicate. The eyes were wide and staring, but they were just carved holes. The mouth was slightly open, like it was about to speak or maybe scream. There were strange symbols carved around the edges that I didn't recognize. My friends, Mike and Sarah, thought it was creepy. "Toss it back, dude," Mike said, his face wrinkling up. "Looks like something a ghost would wear." Sarah agreed. "Yeah, it gives me the shivers." But I was fascinated. There was something about its smooth coolness, its silent stare, that held my attention. I took it home, cleaned off the mud, and put it on my desk. That night, I had a weird dream. I was underwater, surrounded by dark shapes, and I could hear a faint, echoing whisper that I couldn't understand. When I woke up, I felt strange. Not sick, but like a part of me was missing, or like something new had been added. The next day, I took the mask back to the lake. I don't know why. I just felt like it belonged there. I held it in my hands at the edge of the water. the pale wood gleaming in the sunlight. As my fingers touched the smooth surface, I felt a faint tingling, like a small electric shock. That night, the dreams were worse. The whispers were louder, and I saw faces in the dark water, pale and distorted. I woke up feeling even more off, like I hadn't slept at all. I was also starting to feel angry. Little things that wouldn't normally bother me made me snap. My friends noticed the change. "You okay, Liam?" Sarah asked one afternoon. "You've been acting kind of mean lately." Mike nodded. "Yeah, you almost yelled at old Mr. Henderson for just saying hi." I didn't know why I was acting that way. It felt like something was bubbling up inside me, a dark feeling that I couldn't control. I started spending more time alone, just staring at the mask on my desk. One evening, I picked it up and looked into its empty eyes. The symbols around the edges seemed to glow faintly in the dim light of my room. I felt a pull, a strong urge to put it on. It was like the mask was calling to me. Hesitantly, I placed it over my face. The moment the cool wood touched my skin, the whispers in my head became clear. They weren't in English, but I understood them somehow. They were full of sadness and anger, of a deep hurt that felt ancient. I felt those emotions wash over me, stronger than anything I had ever felt before. It was overwhelming, like drowning in someone else's pain. When I took the mask off, I gasped for breath. The room felt normal again, but I didn't. The sadness and anger lingered like a dark cloud inside me. I felt a connection to the mask now, a terrible understanding of the pain it held. Over the next few days, things got worse. The bad feelings inside me grew stronger. I started saying and doing things I regretted. I pushed my friends away. I even yelled at my parents. It felt like I wasn't in control anymore, like something else was guiding my actions. One night, I had a dream that was so real it terrified me. I was standing on the old dock, wearing the mask. The water of Lake Serene was black and still, and pale faces were rising from the depths, their eyes fixed on me. They were whispering, not with their mouths, but directly into my mind, sharing their pain and their rage. I woke up screaming. I looked at the mask on my desk, and I knew I had to get rid of it. It wasn't just a creepy object. It was something dangerous. I took it back to Lake Serene the next morning, my hands shaking. The lake looked calm and peaceful in the early sunlight, nothing like the nightmare I had had. I walked out onto the broken dock and held the mask over the water. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "Whatever happened to you, I can't carry this." As I went to drop it, a voice echoed in my head, clear and cold. "No." My hand froze. I couldn't let go. It felt like the mask had a hold on me, like it was a part of me now. Tears streamed down my face as I struggled against the unseen force. Finally, with a desperate effort, I threw the mask as far as I could into the deepest part of the lake. It disappeared beneath the dark surface without a ripple. I stood there. The anger and sadness didn't vanish right away. They lingered, like a shadow. Slowly, though, over the next few weeks, the dark feelings started to fade. I started to feel like myself again. I apologized to my friends and my family, but I never forgot the mask I found in Lake Serene. Sometimes, when I go back there, I still feel a faint chill in the air, a whisper on the breeze. And I can't help but wonder if the pale white mask is still down there in the dark mud, waiting for someone else to find it. And I hope, more than anything, that they leave it where it belongs, in the silent depths of the lake.